Thank you everyone for joining our webinar. Good morning to the West Coast, good afternoon to the East Coast, and good evening to our participants from Europe and Asia. Thank you everyone for finding the time. This webinar is being recorded, and we have a group of incredibly talented individuals from wonderful companies gathered together to present a very exciting, very interesting topic of how to build real-world application powered by Amazon Sidewalk Network and ST's global portfolio of silicon solutions. With that, I would like to hand it off to each individual member to introduce ourselves. Greg?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Greg Davis. I'm a product marketing manager here in ST Americas, and I was the development manager for our Sidewalk SDK.
Bob?
Bob?
Hi, Bob Blanchard, Senior Manager of Business Development for Clicatech Americas.
Thomas?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Henley. I'm one of the solution architects with Amazon Sidewalk.
And I'm Gennady Borisov, one of the co-founders of Clicatech. With that, next slide, please. And Thomas, I believe microphone is yours.
All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro to Amazon Sidewalk. So what is Amazon Sidewalk? Well, it's a shared community for IoT devices, and it's powered by millions of Echo and Ring devices that are already out there. These devices are deployed in people's homes and their places of business. So you can think of it as this organic network that spans across the US and soon broader reaching in an international context. It's really designed to connect all different kinds of IoT devices. We target low cost, so the hardware is low cost and the service itself, the network is free to connect. So the total cost of ownership for IoT devices on the Sidewalk network can be very low cost. We try to make it as simple as possible. So things like onboarding, where say a device trying to get on board a Wi-Fi network might need to deal with complexities like passwords and so on. Sidewalk does away with all of that. The onboarding is completely automatic. A device can register without the user having to be involved. It just makes it simple. We've built Sidewalk from the ground up to be secure and private. We have multiple layers of encryption at the network layer, the application layer, and at what we call the flex layer, which is between the gateway and the network cloud. There's mutual authentication, we rotate keys, and there's various different methods for maintaining privacy, including rotating identifiers and hashing of IDs to make it more or less impossible to track devices on the network, maintaining privacy, and then also to ensure that the data that's transiting from your device to your cloud application or vice versa on the downlink stays yours, that nobody unauthorized can get in there and see that data. And that includes Amazon. So with these 3 layers of encryption, this is ensured. In terms of listening to our customers, one of the most requested features over the past several years that I've been working on the project is geolocation. So about a month back, we were proud to release with our AWS partners a set of location services natively integrated with Amazon Sidewalk. So there are 3 different flavors of geolocation. You can use BLE, you can use Wi-Fi, and you can use GNSS as 3 different methods to obtain the geolocation of a Sidewalk device. And we're excited about this. Obviously a lot of customers asked for it, as I mentioned, and it opens up a whole lot of different powerful applications related to tracking devices that move around. You can now get the geolocation easily and conveniently through Sidewalk. Next slide, please. So in terms of what Sidewalk looks like from an architectural perspective, at the top we have the AWS cloud. This is the surface through which a developer interacts with Amazon Sidewalk through AWS IoT Core. This is where all the data ingresses and egresses the network. At the next level down, we have these bridges or gateways, as we refer to them. Again, millions of Echo and Ring devices deployed in people's homes and their places of business. So this is a network that's out there, ready for you to use, deployed by our customers, and then managed by us. Probably important to note at this point, the way that devices connect, the physical connections to the Sidewalk network. You see the devices at the bottom. but these don't all have to be the same device, the same RF type. We support 3 different physical layers. We support BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, for shortest range and highest rate connections. This is suitable for devices that tend to be around people's homes or businesses where the gateways are and close by to those gateways. As a medium range, medium rate protocol on the sub-gigahertz band, we support what we call sub-gigahertz FSK. So this is a sub-gig protocol that gives range of maybe 150 to 200 meters. And as I mentioned, it's a medium rate protocol. And then for the longest range, the broadest coverage, we also support sub-gigahertz LoRa. And this gives very large coverage, very large percent of the population in the US is covered by a LoRa network. I'll show you that in a moment. At the very bottom, you have all of these devices. So millions and billions of devices made by third parties developing using the tools that silicon partners like STMicro and companies like Clickertech, as part of our partner network, help to realize these different solutions, these different products on our network. Next slide, please. And in terms of the network coverage, this is a snapshot showing population coverage in the US. We claim about 90% population coverage. It's actually a little bit higher than that right now since the snapshot was shown. And so you can see this very broad coverage of the network. Again, it's there. You can use it. It's a powerful solution to enable IoT connectivity for all kinds of different devices. And if you'd like that URL there at the bottom, coverage.sidewalk.amazon, this is a live map, and you can go and play with it yourselves. So at that point, I'd like to hand over to Bob, who's going to talk about some pain points in IoT and how Sidewalk can provide some solutions to these problems. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Thomas, for that incredible introduction to what Amazon Sidewalk actually is. And what I wanted to do is take a little bit of time from the experience of having worked with a lot of customers in the deployment of IoT solutions to talk about some of the pain points that you commonly encounter especially in enterprise class environments that Amazon Sidewalk does a really great job of providing relief for. And one of the things that I've always found, in I think anyone who's done any type of experience in this has seen, a lot of times when a maker is making a device, they're very focused on what that device can do, making it as useful as possible for whatever its intended purpose is. But there's not a lot of thinking a lot of times about how that device is going to get its data back to the internet, for consumption and be able to be used, and especially when it comes to the enterprise targeted client. So for example, if you were to go into, in my experience, being a former director of technology and specifically responsible for IoT devices in large environments like, hotels and multifamily dwellings and things like that, when you would walk in with a solution from IoT that would do something that they really wanted, but then have to tell them, well, but to get it back to where you can actually look at the data, we've got this gateway that you have to put in. And by the way, the protocol that this speaks is X, and it's usually only one. And you have to put a lot of gateways in the facility to be able to accommodate all of the devices. And when you're talking about an enterprise class client, a lot of times they're looking at putting in a solution set of devices and not just that one that's going in. So now they're looking at multiple gateways. And I've literally walked into hotel rooms where when you opened up the walls or opened up the ceilings, there were half a dozen or more gateways embedded in that room just for the devices in that room, which is kind of a showstopper when you're dealing with enterprise class clients. Because once you get past the coolness of the device that got you in the door to talk to them, you're facing the IT staff that then has to support it and deploy the infrastructure and maintain the infrastructure in order for that device to do what it's going to do. And Amazon Sidewalk really alleviates that pain point in a huge way, because now your IT staff isn't going to be looking at, oh, I have to pull a network cable to put in a gateway, or I have to put a dozen gateways in my building, or I have to do all of these things and manage these gateways. I just have to put the device in place. The gateways are already there thanks to Amazon's huge network that they've already deployed. And the other things that you have to consider too, when you're in, especially we'll talk about multi-dwelling homes and things like that. Why do frequencies matter? And as Thomas talked about, the Amazon Sidewalk platform is a 3-frequency platform, right? It uses, kind of a short range, big data, medium range, and long range, low data network. And these things make a big difference, especially when you're inside of buildings, right? An IoT device typically doesn't have a very big payload. So when you're coming into a building and you're using short range protocols that have lots of bandwidth, like Wi-Fi or protocols like that, it's overkill for an IoT device typically. And the other problem you run into is the frequencies that are used inside of those buildings, like with Wi-Fi networks, and in many cases there's already a network of Zigbee devices or something like that that are operating in the same frequency range. You get a lot of interference. And so now you're not only interfering with the customer's Wi-Fi network, but you're also degrading the quality of data being delivered by your sensors because of interference problems. But Amazon Sidewalk provides protocols that allow you to dip below those crowded 2.4 gigahertz frequencies, for example, and be able to operate without interfering so much in those cases, which again is a big win when you're talking to the IT staff that's going to have to support those types of solutions. And something that Thomas alluded to here as well was the ease of installation. How many times in our case did we have contract people deploying solutions for us where we had this laundry list of checks and balances that they had to do to make sure that the device was deployed properly, or the series of devices was deployed properly. Very easy to omit a step or do something incorrectly or leave something out. And the next thing you've got to do another truck roll to go back out there and fix it. And Amazon Sidewalk literally makes that a very simple thing to do. You kind of, I don't want to say it's completely plug and play, but it's pretty darn close to plug and play. And again, it really has a design for enterprise class solutions already built into it, making it very easy to support an enterprise class client. Next slide, please. And I'm going to use a couple of examples here. So, here, for example, multi-building or multifamily building examples. What are the challenges you encounter when you're doing something like that? Well, first of all, you don't control the Wi-Fi networks in these places. Tenants are going to do their own thing. So you have a 2.4 gigahertz is crowded. It's just busy with all the different Wi-Fi going on. A lot of the tenants probably have their own Wi-Fi networks going. You've got, things that you just don't have control over. And you want to be able to control all the mechanical infrastructure of a building, but you want to be able to do it in a way that doesn't hurt the customers and doesn't negate your ability to do the job that you're taxing it to do. So low band here, again, plays such a big role in that. For one, it penetrates buildings better. So you don't have to have a lot of gateways in a building for a low band solution to work. It can see for a long distance, even inside of buildings where you typically have big problems, especially when they're commercial grade buildings with a lot of steel and concrete infrastructure and low penetration of the higher bandwidth protocols. Amazon Sidewalk solves that for you. You've got that wonderful blend of those 3 protocols where the device can find the one that works and just go and do it. Again, you don't have to pull wires or put in switches, you consume switch ports and have, staff people that are having to take care of it. The infrastructure back end is already taken care of for you. So now you can just focus on building a device that's really good and can just jump onto this already established network and do its job. And again, the setup is simple. You don't have to do multiple truck rolls in order to make it work. Next slide, please. Again, a couple more examples here. And this is one that we've already had customers that have been doing this. For example, what if you have a device that is kind of a one-on-one type of thing, but it's over a very large area, like you're looking at the water meters for an entire neighborhood. Well, nobody would want to put in the infrastructure to cover that, but the Amazon Sidewalk network is already there, through the Ring devices, whether it's the cameras or the doorbells or whatever, there's a Ring device out there, most likely within range, that will be able to allow you to manage water meters from afar without having to send trucks out to do scans on the water meters, or even walk up with a maybe a mobile phone. A lot of them were using Bluetooth and things like that, where they still had to go out there and get close. Now you don't have to do that. You can actually do it completely remotely thanks to the Amazon Sidewalk network and things like HVAC systems and those types of solutions. Perfect use case for Amazon Sidewalk. And again, there are other solutions out there that provide the low band protocols, but you still have to pay for all those services, and when you're talking about things, for example, I live in Orlando, Florida, and here we have these huge resort campuses where you might have a 300 or 400 acre campus with multiple golf courses, lots of buildings, and even residential sectors within the campus. And you can literally run that entire campus off of solutions like Amazon Sidewalk, because it'll accommodate your higher bandwidth, instant demand things like maybe locks or things like that, where you can put an Echo device or something nearby to be able to do everything in real time, all the way out to maybe just watching the sensors that are monitoring the grounds and different parts of the campus, for temperatures or for watering and all the types of things that you have to do on those big resorts where you're watching the grounds as well as the internal building infrastructures. And it gives you sort of a one protocol, or not one protocol, but one solution, one network backend solution that handles the whole thing. Vending machines were another environment that I had a past in, and frequently vending machines were deployed inside of commercial buildings, right? And again, concrete, heavy steel infrastructure, and typically they tried to use cellular signals. Well, our experience in the company that I was doing the work for was that literally 30% of the machines could not talk on the network, because again, the higher bandwidth of the cellular network simply couldn't penetrate the building infrastructure. Whereas if Amazon Sidewalk were used, you'd be able to probably get those signals out of those buildings and be able to use them effectively to monitor your vending machines and find out when you needed to replenish products or clear out the cash drawers or any of those types of things. So, I mean, really, there's a lot of solutions here that the pain points that Amazon Sidewalk solves are pretty immense when you look at this thing from an enterprise perspective, and you're able to overcome those objections and the confrontations you're going to face once it gets past the people who are interested in the bright shiny object and get back to the brass tacks of how they're going to have to support it in that enterprise infrastructure. It just makes your ability to appeal to that enterprise class client so much better. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and hand this off to Greg Davis from ST Micro to go ahead and talk about the solutions that they've provided and the SDKs that they've developed to help customers be able to facilitate this incredible solution.
Thank you, Bob. That was great. So I'm going to rapid pace through about 11 slides here. We don't want you to have to take notes here, so you'll get all of these slides. So after the meeting, you'll get all of these. So you'll have all the references to everything that we show. So I'm not going to spend that much time on the portfolio. Obviously, ST is for the last 6 years the #1 general purpose microcontroller company on the planet. We have over 100,000 customers. We've shipped over 15 billion STM32. This SDK for Sidewalk runs on these devices with high degree of portability. We have 5,000 parts in full production. So, it's not just targeted to one series of family. We have great portability. Next slide, please, Emery. With that, the main message that I want to send here is highlighted in the orange area is the ST SDK, which is developed in concert with Clica. We're very proud of that. Is meant to be a robust and scalable comprehensive SDK for STM32 devices that enables Sidewalk along with your application. So, right, ST having the widest portfolio of Cortex-M offerings on the planet with unprecedented application knowledge through all of our customers. This SDK is meant to scale to those across that product portfolio. It does so in a very robust way. We developed this solution very slowly to address very ultra low power applications and robust integration with your application, because your application is the key. And if we give you a stack of cards that falls apart the minute you manipulate one little bit of code, that we've not done our job. So I think we've honored the application. We support the complete comprehensive specification of Amazon Sidewalk through all of the registration techniques and methods and all of the RF options that are available. It's 100% royalty free, and it's offered in source code, so we'll get to that part shortly. And it scales to hundreds of STM32 and thousands of end applications. Very well supported in North America by our apps team. Next slide, please. This is a table that shows you the commissioning methods are obviously FSK and BLE are in the standard of Sidewalk, and we support both of those standards in our SDK. We support every single, obviously, LoRa, FSK, and BLE on transmissions, and we do through a number of flexible architectures. Again, your application is going to likely need different peripheral sets, different power consumption envelopes, different cost envelopes, and we scale across the world-leading Cortex-M portfolio, best of anybody in the world, let alone anybody that makes an Amazon SDK. So we also developed an our SDK is native support for the Semtech transceivers. If you want to have you can support that through multiple devices. We also support ultra-low cost architectures where we use ST and also Semtech transceivers. This was done with Semtech participating. So, you know, Amazon, ST, Clica, Semtech together did this. So you have the latest support for the latest standard of Sidewalk, and also the drivers and the geolocation services on the back end from Amazon and Semtech. Next slide, please. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. So don't worry about taking notes of the part numbers here. They're all going to be in the slides for you to reference. The SDK for us is supported through all of standard ST eval boards and Semtech eval boards. So no matter which architecture you're trying to stack up, we do so with all of the reference projects, with all of the design examples being targeted on the architecture that you pick. So we have independent application examples on every different platform. So the SDK is very comprehensive in the way that it addresses the eval board. These are all available in standard Mauser, DigiKey, and through all our franchise distributors. Next slide. Even the Semtech boards that you see mentioned here, there's two Semtech transceivers, the SX1262, which is FSK only, and then you have the LR1110, which is used when you want to add LoRa or FSK, plus the geolocation services. Next slide. These are our standard ST eval boards that are qualified in the kit. So you have our WBA55, then you have the larger memory. It's the same exact architecture in the WBA65. And then you have our sub-gigahertz, our LoRa SoC. Down here on the bottom is the STM32WL55, which I should say is the world's only true LoRa SoC on the planet. Next slide. I encourage you, once you get to the SDK, and I'm going to show you where that is on my last slide, that you look in the user manual. You'll scroll down on the main landing page, go through the user manual. The user guides is very comprehensive, detailed diagrams of how the boards are mated together, and schematics of these boards, very comprehensive user guide detailing these. Next slide. Okay, so this is the last slide for me. So this is where you get the SDK. Down here at the bottom, the GitHub link is the link where you can locate, and we just pushed an update last night with the support for the latest 1.19 from Amazon Sidewalk. And the pane in the right here, I encourage you to scroll down on the main landing page, and you'll see the development application and the table of contents down below. That's where you're going to see all of the design examples. Next slide, maybe. Okay. So with that, I think I'll pass it to Gennady, and thank you very much for attending today.
Thank you, Greg, Thomas, Bob, appreciate it. So ClickAttack. Who is ClickAttack? We are a global system integrator. We're AWS Premier Tier partner and thrilled to be working with AWS and our other partners for more than a decade, with deep experience in the intersection of embedded systems, as they call them, physical AI as of today, AWS cloud, and operational and information technology, OT and IT. We have a real world hands-on experience across various industries to help organizations accelerate innovation, optimize infrastructure, deliver connected solutions which are secure, scalable, and ready for rapid growth based on AWS global platform. As you can see from the slide, we have global locations to support our clients everywhere, as well as we are ISO 9001 and 27001 certified, which is critical to focus on specific industries with connected products from industrial manufacturing, retail, automotive, logistics, smart city, utilities, oil and gas, and smart agriculture. Next slide, please. What we're going to see right now is a solution architecture for the solution accelerator we're going to present, and it's based on Amazon Sidewalk network, ST portfolio of STM WBA55, WL55, and ST's MEMS products, as well as the full power of AWS cloud. With that, next slide, please. What you see is a real dashboard, which shows how our solution accelerator, represented by a smart pallet solution, works. At the same time, we track environmental conditions of the smart pallet, or let's say specific package or specific object, measuring temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure of this object, as well as tilt and impact effects, as well as geolocation. What you see on the screen right now is a normal state of an object being transported. Next slide, please. If during the motion of the object or at rest, something happens to that object, for example, the platform is tilted or environmental conditions change, in real time, within seconds, you will see this reflected on the dashboard as measured by the sensors present at the package. Next slide, please. If there is a catastrophic tilt, for example, package is about to fall or it was impacted and is angled, you'll see this changing as well. Next slide, please. And here's a situation where object has been impacted and the vibration of the object is more than allowed by preset conditions. Next one. And right now we're going to roll a video. Please start the video to show the dashboard live. What you see right now is a live dashboard. Can we go back to the slide, please, and start the video? Let the video buffer. You'll see the conditions changing. You see the object being tracked in real time. If there's a specific tilt, conditions are being measured, what's going on with our object, with our smart panel. And in real time, we see that it's about to tip over. It tipped over. Now it's returning to its normal state. And there is an impact. So what you see right now is a live dashboard built on the top of AWS to show the conditions measured by the sensor built on ST's silicon portfolio and powered by Amazon Sidewalk network. This solution accelerator is a joint development of the companies present on this webinar, and we're going to put a link to this solution into our chat so you can read more about it, ask questions, and hopefully we'll get to build a new product powered by Amazon Sidewalk, ST Silicon, and ClickAttack's talent together. With this, thank you everyone for participating. We're open for questions.
I guess we should also add, Gennady, here that this demo is going to be shown at ST's CES event. So if you're interested in seeing this demo live, watching the board tilt on your own, seeing the data update, please come by and see us.
Thank you so much again, Greg. Appreciate it. All our teams will be at CES. And if you'd like to schedule time with us, see the solution, talk to Amazon Sidewalk team, talk to ST team, please let us know. But please do ask questions, ready to answer your questions.
Yeah, so please use the chat to type out any questions you may have for us. We'll be here for, I guess, several minutes, all the way to the hour, I believe.
Yes. We have some questions previously submitted. Maybe we can look at those questions and share the information with everyone on the call. Greg, I know some of the questions were submitted to specifically ST. If you can go through those questions.
Sure. I'll just pull them up here.
Please.
So we had a couple of questions that came to us earlier. So one of them was, does ST Sidewalk SDK support both BLE and LoRa FSK concurrently while inside an active Sidewalk connection? It absolutely does. We have a very robust concurrency right out of the SDK. Whether you're doing BLE plus FSK, LoRa plus BLE, the concurrency operation is extremely robust, and it even does so while entering and exiting ultra low power mode. So while we weren't the first with the SDK, we think we have the most robust SDK that is able to operate concurrently through every single RF standard and every single registration method, even inside low power operation. So that was a good question. We spent a lot of time on that.
Thank you. I think we have a question in the chat from Mr. Singh. I understand that Sidewalk will need echo and ring to use as a bridge. If places do not use or have echo or ring, how will it work? Thomas, I believe this question is for you.
So it depends, is the short answer. If you're within the coverage area that I showed on the map snapshot a few minutes ago, then you'll have coverage from a neighbor if you're using a LoRa network, right? LoRa is long range, several hundred meter range from a device to a gateway. So in that case, the location would have, kind of think of it as ambient network coverage. Outside of that, yeah, we recognize that we don't have 100% coverage, in which case we would recommend that either the user, depending on the deployment model, or if it's like a business to business kind of deployment, that the manufacturer would buy a ring or an echo device and install it at that location or thereabouts to provide coverage.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't see anything in the chat here. Do you have any questions that came to you, Bob? I have a couple more that came to me.
Yeah, there are some here. One of the common questions that's always asked in IoT solutions: how long do the batteries last in a vanilla, Amazon Sidewalk device? And I think I'll let you field that one first, Greg, but I think it's generally the same as you would with any long-range protocol device, and it's always dependent on how talkative that device is and how often it's active. But I'll let you go ahead and field that from the ST perspective.
Yeah, the question always with power consumption is it depends. I mean, ST is a world leader in power consumption. We have been for many years with our STM32 U5 and now our U3, but also the WBA, which is the device that's hosting the BLE and the Amazon Sidewalk stack in there, is a direct descendant from those devices. So they have the same power modes. But in the development of the SDK, we took particular attention on there's a low power and a sequencer that keeps the compliancy of the transmission intervals, and it does so even with hardware controlled state machines that drive the transmission of the radio. So the application processors can be completely asleep, and the transmission payload can be DMA'd through the radio and stay compliant to a Sidewalk transmission in very ultra low power mode. How long will that last? It depends on what else your application is doing. But we already have metering customers that are in extremely buried underground type of applications, where we have very years and years of power of life without a touch. So while we want to maintain the transmit power, we want to minimize power consumption. So I say, in general, aside from what your application is doing, our power sequencer allows us to stay compliant with the RF transmission. And I think the transmission max at one point is the max peak power is about 17 milliamps when you're black, but it's very, very short duration of burst of energy when you're doing a transmit. But I mean, we have customers that target up to 10 years of battery life in metering applications, and all of the performance data shows that we're tracking very well on that.
Excellent. I do have another one here. I think this one's probably for Thomas. Can existing devices be added to the Amazon Sidewalk platform?
With some caveats, yes. So I would say for BLE, yes, depending on the capabilities of the device. If you have a way to firmware update and deploy Sidewalk credentials to your devices, we do actually have quite a number of customers that are either looking at or in fact mass deploying. You could think of it as retrofit, brownfield updating BLE devices to Sidewalk capability. So that's one area. On LoRa or LoRaWAN, while Sidewalk doesn't use LoRaWAN, we use the LoRa physical layer, and then Mac and Up is our own. As Greg explained, we're compatible, right? We don't have any different requirements from a LoRa hardware perspective. So just as one of the SD platforms could run LoRaWAN, it can also run Sidewalk over LoRa. So from that perspective, it would be up to the developer, and I'm sure the ST and Clickertech would be able to support as needed, but basically to make a dual stack implementation where perhaps at the time of setup or even during operation, the device can either be configured and stay as LoRaWAN or Sidewalk, or it could actually switch back and forth and figure out and kind of take advantage of both networks. So those are all different possibilities.
Excellent. And I think one of the things that might be worth chatting about too is the qualification process, because obviously to make sure that we've got a nice, robust, secure platform, I know that it's important to understand that the devices that are part of the network are actually qualified to be safe and part of that network. So,
sure, yeah. As part of the, as Bob said, as part of the, so you think of it as a prerequisite for a product goes to market, we have a qualification program. Basically, there's a couple of different steps to it. The first step is you can download from the Sidewalk documentation website a set of, think of them as self-tests. Basically, this is a set of protocol tests that you'll run your device through to make sure that it's protocol compliant. And then once the manufacturer of the device is confident that they can pass the self-test, then you would send samples to us. Currently, we're running the qualification in-house, so these Amazon engineers will run the device through its paces, basically validate that the self-test is correct and there are no edge cases that are missed. And then basically the output of that is that we'll give you, well, we send an email to say you're approved, you're confirmed as Sidewalk qualified, and then probably more practically, we give you access to, for a mass manufacturing process, we give you access to the ability to sign unlimited credentials. So you can manufacture unlimited Sidewalk devices at that point. So it's a protocol compliance test. You could think of it as a little bit similar to the way that the Bluetooth SIG would qualify protocol compliance with the Bluetooth protocol, it's similar to that. So in that we're not actually exercising the application. The application is up to the third party to define, but we want to make sure that the devices don't break the rules from a Sidewalk protocol perspective.
Somebody raised a hand to ask a question, I believe.
Whoever raised your hand, please go ahead.
Okay.
I don't see any hands up.
Here's a question in chat. Should we get any certification to use Sidewalk on our devices? If so, how?
So I'll take that one. Maybe let me clarify. So if you mean for development purposes, experimenting, doing pilots and so on, then no. All of the tools and so on that have been referred to here are free. You can download them all from the ST website. You get all the SDKs and sample apps up and running on your device. As I just described, though, in terms of going to like scale mass production, you will need, it's a prerequisite that you pass the Sidewalk qualification. So we call it qualification. You could call it certification. It's a certification program. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess let me add to that, Thomas, and just say that also in our SDK, we have the self-test programs that are integrated into our SDK. So you can put the device in test modes and do your self-qualification to understand how you're supporting. So our SDK is very helpful, not only in the development of your end product, but to get you, self-test oriented and get a feel and help you work through the issues before you ever get to qualification.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the SDK includes practical examples. You could think of them as hello world samples for both BLE and sub-gigahertz connectivity to show simple examples of how to use the Sidewalk stack to connect and send and receive data. And then, as Greg said, there are other more utilitarian examples for things like certification and self-test, as well as various others, all part of the package.
I put a link to the SDK in the chat here, so you can click on that and go right to it. And I encourage you to look at the section that talks about the directory structure of all the example projects that are built into the SDK. It's not just the code for the SDK itself. There's a lot of design examples depending on what applications. If you want to run BLE, you want to run concurrency. And then when it's all done, you have the device under test, the DUT, and SID 900 programs there to be able to test and run your end application.
We're getting more questions. How many gateway options are available and for what types of environments? And can Amazon Sidewalk be used with any gateway? Thomas, all yours.
I'll paste a link that gives a comprehensive list of all the gateways that are available. Basically, it's for Bluetooth Low Energy. It's more or less every Echo device that's ever been made, with the exception of the very first generation. I think they were from 2017, Echo and Echo Dot. So a lot of Echo devices. And then in the Ring family of devices, there's a subset of devices. The majority of them support our sub-gigahertz protocols, and some of them support BLE. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question again, Thomas, for you. As developers, can we build our own gateways or develop products that are compatible with Amazon Sidewalk gateways?
I think this is a two-part question. So the first part, can you develop your own gateways? Short answer is no. At this time, all gateways are developed, built, deployed, sold by Amazon or Ring. So they're, as we say, first-party gateways. We don't have a mechanism to provide the core Sidewalk functionality as an SDK or anything like that that would empower third parties to develop their own gateways, nor do we have a certification program to enable that. And then when you say products that are compatible with Amazon Sidewalk gateways, well, all of the tools that we just talked about from ST and the demonstration that Clickertech showed these are examples of end devices that are compatible. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but of course you can build as many different kinds of end devices as you want.
Thank you. There was a question submitted for Click Attack. Is the solution accelerator we see in this demonstration, this webinar, is available as a go-to-market ready solution? No, it is not a ready-to-be deployed solution. It is a solution accelerator, which can be customized to address specific needs of your application. It is something to rapidly test your idea, your product, to see if it can be built on the top of Amazon Sidewalk network using ST Silicon, and Click Attack can work with you to customize it. Any additional questions?
I do see one here that was sent in ahead of time. They're basically asking a question about whether BLA and LoRa FSK can be run concurrently while inside of Sidewalk.
Yeah, yes, we talked about that earlier. Yes, ST's SDK has a robust, from the very beginning, we designed the SDK to support this, and we have many customers that are already in production that are demonstrating the use of this. So I know some of our competitors have a hard time doing that robustly, where you change one little bit of thing in the code and it's a very stack of cards per se. Our SDK is not like that. We took a lot of time in planning and testing, and it has very robust concurrency through all RF transmissions.
And I do see another one here. Can Click Attack help companies with firmware, cloud, and AI mobile application development? The answer is yes, we absolutely can.
I have one here. It says, is ST committed to ongoing updates to their SDK in Amazon, and as Amazon evolves the Sidewalk specification? The answer is absolutely yes.
There's another question. Are APIs available to develop a customized web-based dashboard? I'll probably take this. There are no specific APIs except AWS services. You can use AWS full suite of services to develop the dashboard running on the top of AWS, and we'll be happy to help you. We've developed a number of dashboards. Click Attack has extensive library of those dashboards, so it'd be easier to customize those dashboards and obviously developing them from scratch.
Yeah, maybe just to add to what Gennady said, Sidewalk as a solution stops at AWS IoT Core. So I talked earlier about the AWS being the ingress and egress point for all data into and out of the Sidewalk network. That all happens through this IoT Core integration that we have. So for those of you that are familiar, you have a device profile within IoT Core, and under that you have wireless devices. So those wireless devices are the cloud entities through which data is sent and received. From there, you can use some of the tools and services that Gennady alluded to. You can use rules and various other things to route data essentially wherever you want. So IoT Core gets the data into and out of the Sidewalk network, and from there, the 200 plus different services, storage, front end, back end, AI, ML, all of the things that AWS has, you can build any kind of application that you want. Web-based, front end, back end, anything. So it ties neatly into all of these other services. I think that's the best way to put it.
Thank you, Thomas.
I think just the last one for me here I got is, can you confirm that the ST SDK is indeed royalty free with no fees in production? That's correct. It is completely 100% free, offered in source code format. And what I mean by source code format is all of ST's SDK is offered in source code. We do have a pre-compiled binary library of which we're not able to distribute in source code that belongs to Amazon. So, but that pre-compiled library is included in the SDK. So whatever version of the SDK you're running will support the latest Amazon standard. And it is royalty free. You do have to use it, however, on STM32, and there are mechanisms to make the source code will not run on anyone else's devices. So you can use it free, completely 100% free, as long as it's running on an STM32. Lastly, I want to say thank you to Gennady and Bob and Thomas for the participation here. Obviously, ST feels very highly of Clica. They were the partner that we chose as a world-leading semiconductor company to use for the SDK development internally. We do have strong technical support for Sidewalk ourselves in North America with our apps team, but obviously we think extremely highly of Clica. And we encourage any customer to use them if you need some engineering assistance as well.
Thank you, Greg. Likewise, we have another question. While developing my device, can I integrate it with your services using Amazon Sidewalk compatible gateway? I'll start and ask Bob to help me here. We can work with you to make sure that your device supports Sidewalk and work with Amazon Sidewalk team to take you through qualification and see what we can do to bring that device and services to market together. Bob, any additional comments?
Yeah, in the development process, we certainly were using Echo devices as our test beds, while they weren't actively participating in what I would call production environments within the Amazon cloud. We're certainly working in development environments. So yeah, there are ways to do that where you can actually develop in a test environment and be able to fully develop your device using an appropriate bridge device to make sure everything's working properly.
Thank you. There was a question which just popped and then disappeared about APIs being exposed to query the coverage. Thomas, I guess it's for you. I'm posting the link to the live coverage map from the Amazon Sidewalk, but are there any APIs available to check on the coverage?
So we have a few different coverage tools. The coverage map that you link there, that's our public coverage map. So anybody with an internet connection can get that one. So that one has the least granular coverage information, which just basically shows coverage or no coverage. We also have what we call partner coverage maps. If you sign up for a Sidewalk 360 account, I can drop the sign up link in there. You can get access to that. So it provides more granular coverage detail. If that's not sufficient for partners that we have a close relationship with, I would say, so it would require that we have some, collaborative business together, and that we met and know the partner, and that there's NDAs and various of the legal agreements in place. Then we can potentially provide access to a more high resolution coverage tool. It's still not API based. It'll be within the Sidewalk 360 interface. So you can submit individual latitude, longitudes, or batches, and it will return coverage scores. But there's no direct programmatic access at this point. We need to maintain control. So at this point, there is no either public or private API that can be used. Hopefully that answers the question.
And everyone on the call, you see our email addresses on the slide. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have. We have 2 more minutes left in our webinar. Any last questions? One minute. And with that, we would like to thank everyone for participating, listening to us, reviewing our materials, and we look forward to building Sidewalk-enabled products with you. If you're at CES, please reach out. We'd be happy to meet in person, and happy holidays.